Hi students, welcome back to our class. Topic that we're going to discuss today is the history of tourism and hospitality. So right after nating malaman the importance of studying tourism and hospitality, we are now discussing the history of tourism and hospitality, kung saan nga ba nagmula si tourism and hospitality, or kung paano ba nagkaroon ng hospitality and tourism industry. So for our learning outcomes, at the end of this unit, students will be able to describe the history of the tourism and hospitality industry, explain the origin of tourism and hospitality in the Philippines, identify the international travel patterns, and describe the factors that favor the growth of tourism and hospitality. So for the early tourism travel and exploration are basic to human nature. So before pa lang, or nung unang panahon pa lang, and even in the time of the Bible, meron na talagang tourism na tinatawag. Ang mga tao ay naglalakbay na talaga to explore things, to have recreations, yung mga ganyan. So, tourism is derived from Hebrew word Torah, which means studying, learning, or searching. And tourism can be traced its ancestry in the Old Testament. If you know the story of the Noah's Ark, di ba si Noah, kahit yung mga passengers niya ay mga animals, siya pa rin ay nag-travel. Kaya nga nakarating siya sa isang island kasi nagkaroon ng sobrang baha sa lugar na kinaroroonan niya. And the Lord told him na gumawa siya ng isang barko and nag-travel si Noah. So, yun pa lang, matitrace back na natin na meron na talagang tourism noong early years or early centuries na meron tayo dito sa mundo. So for the early tourism, it has two forms. Una is for travel for business, and the second one is to travel for religious purposes. So dito sa travel for business, nagta-travel ang mga merchants noong unang panahon, kaya nga nakakarating sila sa iba't ibang bansa kasi nag-travel sila because of business. They do the tradings in different parts of the world using the oldest form of transportation, which is yung mga barko, yung mga bangka, yung mga yun yung gamit sa pagta-travel at pagta-trade ng businesses noong unang panahon. So, travel for religious purposes or reasons took the form of pilgrimage to places of worship. Yung mga tao na sobra at grabe yung paniniwala sa mga spiritual beings, 'di ba? Kung saan-saan sila nagpupunta, kung saan-saang places sila pumupunta, sacred places para lang doon magdasal, para lang doon mag-explore pa when it comes to their religion. So, tourism in the medieval period. Dito naman, during the Middle Ages, pilgrimage were undertaken for a variety of purposes. So, ito, nung medieval period, ang tourism ay it's more on the religious side pa rin. So, ang travel noon is either by foot or kabayo. So, kapag ka mas meron or pag mas may kaya ka sa buhay, nakaka-afford ka ng mga kabayo kasi nung unang panahon wala pa namang mga kotse, wala pa namang mga buses and trains. So yan pa lang, it's either naglalakad ang mga tao sa pagta-travel or horseback or gumagamit sila ng mga kabayo para makapag-travel. So during this period, travel declined. Bumaba ang travel kasi nga ang hirap ng means of transportation. So travel derived from the word travel, became burdensome, dangerous, and demanding during this time. Bakit dangerous? Kasi maraming mga magnanakaw lalo kapagka by foot ka lang, 'di ba? Tapos mag-isa ka lang na nagta-travel. Puwedeng nakawan ka, yung mga ganyan habang ikaw ay nagta-travel. So thieves inflicted harm on those who dare to travel. No one during this time. So crusaders and pilgrims were the only ones who travel. Ang mga nag-travel lang during the medieval period is yun nga, yung mga tao na grabe yung paniniwala sa mga spiritual beings. So, nag-explore talaga sila sa iba't ibang lugar para lang makahanap or para lang makapagdasal into some sacred places. So, tourism naman in the Renaissance or Elizabeth era na tinatawag. So, with this Renaissance, a few renowned universities developed so that travel for education was introduced by the British. So, sila ang nag-introduce ng tourism ng Renaissance era. So, travel for education became popular in the 16th century. Dito na hindi na lang magta-travel ang mga tao for businesses, hindi na lang nagta-travel ang mga tao for religious purposes. So dito sa Renaissance period, ang mga tao ay nagta-travel na rin to explore about education para matry yung iba't ibang educational system. So, tourism during the Industrial Revolution. Dito naman, in the Industrial Revolution brought about major changes in the scale and type of tourism development. Why? It's because dahil nagiging urbanized na at unti-unti nang na-explore ng mga tao yung mga materials na ginagamit sa paggawa ng mga sasakyan, dito nagkaroon ng level or nag-level up yung um, travel ng mga tao kasi nagkaroon na ng mga carts, yung mga ganyan, na-explore na yung mga wheels, yan. So, next, on the 19th century tourism, dito naman na nagkaroon ng mga trains. Yung train is yung pang mga train na ginagamitan ng mga charcoal para lang umandar. Tapos yung iilan pa lang yung mga bagon ng mga tren nung 19th century. So, railways, na-invento na rin siya. So, the railroads created not only more business by providing reliable and cheap transportation kasi mabilis ang mga tren. Kasi ang mga tren ay hindi na siya parang mga bus na kung saan-saan or may mga stopovers talaga para kumuha ng mga passengers or kung saan nila trip huminto, merong mga passengers silang nakita, hihinto sila. So, ang railways, meron talagang designated areas kung saan lang sila magda-drop off and pipick up ng mga passengers. So, dito naman, steam power. The use of steam power supplied the increased mobility needed by tourism business. So, steamers on major rivers supplied reliable and inexpensive transportation. So, nung 19th century, meron dalawang na-invento, the railways and the steam power. So, on the 20th century naman, dito na tayo nagkaroon ng mga planes, dito na tayo nagkaroon ng magagandang types ng sasakyan na on land, on water, and even on air. So, at the beginning of this century, pleasure travel continued to expand, encouraged by the increasing wealth, curiosity, and outgrowing attitudes of the people, as well as the increasing ease of such movement. Kasi nga, noong 20th century, mas madali nang makapunta, mas madali na yung mga means of transportation para makarating ka sa isang lugar. Kahit gaano pa man kalayo yung lugar, na mas mabilis. Hindi mo na kailangang mag-horseback riding, hindi mo na kailangang mag-travel by foot kasi nga ang dami mo ng choices of transportation when you travel. Tsaka noong 20th century, since nag-boom na talaga ang tourism ng 20th century, nagkaroon na ang mga tao ng likeness or naging fond na sila sa pagta-travel. So kapag sa trabaho nila, merong mga travel incentives, sa pag-aaral, merong mga exchange students program, yung mga ganyan. So for our continuation, we will now discuss the pioneers of tourism and hospitality. So there are several outstanding individuals who have made a significant contribution to the growth and development of the tourism and hospitality industry. So dito, pag-aaralan natin kung sino ba yung mga tao na nasa likod ng pagkakaroon natin ngayon ng tourism and hospitality. So unang-una, pag-aralan natin sino nga ba si Cesar Ritz. So, Cesar Ritz became the general manager of Savoy Hotel in London, one of the most famous and luxurious hotels in the world. So, he made the hotel a cultural center for high society. So, the Ritz name is synonymous with refined, elegant hotels and services. At present, the Ritz-Carlton Hotels bear his name. So, yung pangalan ng hotel ni Cesar Ritz as the Carlton Hotels ngayon, and yung iba ay the Savoy Hotel in London. Ito ay kalimitang matatagpuan sa London, which is this hotel is made as a cultural center for high society. So si Cesar Ritz, noong time niya ay tinatawag siyang hotelier to the stars kasi nga ay yung services ng hotel na binibigay niya, and even the designs of the hotel na meron sila, even the facilities of their hotels is maganda. So next, let's discuss Ellsworth Milton Statler. So, siya naman is considered to be the premier hotel man of all time. So, he brought the high standard of comfort and convenience to the middle-class traveler at an affordable price. So, hindi lang si high-class society ang nakaka-afford ng mga hotels ni Statler. So, dito naman sa hotel na ginawa niya, is that ang kinikater nito ay kalimitan yung mga middle class travelers. Maganda maganda yung hotel na meron siya, maganda yung services na binibigay niya, and at the same time affordable price yung hotel nila. So even the middle classes can afford the Statler Hotel. So he was the first to put telephones and radios in every guest room together with full-length mirrors, built-in closets, and a special faucet for ice water. Kaya, tinatawag siyang premier hotel man of all time kasi siya yung unang nakaisip na maglagay ng mga yon sa hotel. So next is the Conrad Hilton Hotel. So the Conrad Hilton Hotel was once recognized as the biggest hotel man in the world. Even here in the Philippines, yung malapit sa MOA is meron ding Conrad Hotel. So one time pa lang ako nakapasok sa Conrad Hotel, and ito ay maganda yung mga hotel na meron siya. Meron silang mga built-in mga swimming pools, and sobrang lawak ng mga swimming pools na meron sila. So, dito sa Philippines and sa Manila, may Conrad Hotel din, yung malapit sa MOA. So, in 1954, he formed the first major chain of American hotels, a group of hotels which followed standard operating procedures. So the next one is Thomas Cook. So Thomas Cook is recognized as the first professional travel agent. So si Thomas Cook naman is a travel agent. So he was the founder of the world's first travel agency. So he is credited for making world travel possible for middle class. So dito naman, since siya ang unang nakaisip na magkaroon ng travel agencies, ito yung mga traveling agency na less hassle kasi sila na yung mismong nagbo-book for you ng mga flights, sila na mismo yung naghahanap ng hotels na pagtutuluyan mo, and sila na rin yung nag-arrange ng mga sasakyan mo on land kapag ikaw ay bibisita sa iba't ibang lugar. Kaya less hassle ang mga travel agency. So si Thomas Cook yung unang nakapag-isip at nakapag-build ng travel agency. So the phrase Cook Tour is still used as at present to refer to a tour that goes to many places and stops briefly at each places. So when you are traveling and you're going to many places and stop briefly at each places, it is considered as a cook tour. So next, si Howard Deering Johnson. Howard Deering Johnson was the pioneer of brand leveraging. He was one of the first to introduce franchising in the 1930s. So siya naman yung nag-start ng franchising, hotel franchise, and even the restaurant franchises, and all the franchises. Siya yung unang nakaisip ng franchising. So at present, Howard Johnson is one of the famous names in the restaurant and hotel businesses. So, si J. Willard Marriott naman, if you know the Marriott Hotel, he is the founder of that hotel. So, J. Willard Marriott founded the Marriott Corporation, which has continues to be an important asset of the hospitality industry. So, through his strong faith and determination, J. Willard Marriott began with a root beer stand, which was founded by necessity and built into a multi-billion dollar industry. So, siya yung nakapag-imbento or siya yung nakapagsimula ng root beer stand. So kapag meron kang pupunta ka sa mga hotels, especially the luxurious hotels na may mga restaurants, meron dong mga beer stands or mga beer hubs, mga ganyan. So next is the Ray Kroc. So, si Crack has been the most financially successful of all hospitality entrepreneurs. So, he was the founder of the McDonald's Corporation. So, a multi-billion dollar industry through his strong dedication, organizational skills, perseverance, and incredible aptitude for marketing, 'di ba? All over the world, sobrang daming McDonald's franchise. So, Kroc developed several operational guidelines such as quality service, cleanliness, and value, or the QSC and V. So, siya yung nakapag-simula ng sa isang restaurant or sa isang hotel is that merong quality service, cleanliness, and value. So, ang motto niya is never be idle a moment, was also incorporated into the business. Kasi totoo naman, kapag tayo ay nagbi-business, dapat hindi tayo napapagod at hindi tayo humihinto na magkaroon ng or mag-isip para lang mapaunlad yung mga businesses that we have. So next is Isadore Sharp. So Isadore Sharp, first generation Canadian, was a founder of Four Seasons Regent Hotels, the world's largest hotel chain and multi-million dollar global hotel empire. So siya yung may-ari ng Four Seasons Regent Hotels and siya yung may pinaka-successful and world's largest hotel chain dito sa buong mundo. So Isadore Sharp. So next, we have Ruth Fertel. So Ruth Fertel was the founder of Chris Steakhouse, so the largest upscale restaurant chain in the United States. Ito ay merong 59 operations, wherein 54 ay meron sa US and Puerto Rico and 5 internationally. So ang dami, no? Ang dami niyang Chris Steakhouse. So it sells more than 11,000 steaks daily with a gross income of $200 million a year. So imagine kung gaano karami at kung gaano kabenta yung Chris Steakhouse. Kasi 11,000 steaks daily ang nabibenta nila and meron silang gross income na $200 million ha guys, dollars. So next, so, sila yung mga pioneers ng hotel and tourism or hospitality industry. So now, let's discuss the origin of tourism in the Philippines. Kanino nga ba at saan nga ba nagmula ang tourism in the Philippines? So, a recognizable form of tourism appeared in the Philippines. Alam na alam natin to kung pumunta dito at nag-explore si Ferdinand Magellan and when galleons or wooden boats sailed between Mexico and the Philippines during the galleon trade. Because of business, kaya rin tayo nagkaroon ng tourism here in the Philippines noong nakarating si Magellan here in the Philippines. Doon na nagstart nagkaroon ng mga tradings ng mga trades, hindi lang galing sa Spain, kundi sa iba't ibang panig din ng bansa. It's because of that trade na explore nila na meron palang Philippines. So during the American occupation of the Philippines, Americans were able to reach Manila after 2 weeks on board the Pan American Airways Air Clippers. Because of this naman, narating nila ng mga American yung Manila in just 2 weeks because of air clippers. So the introduction of more comfortable and faster means of transportation gave the early impetus for tourism in the Philippines. So travels from the US, China, Japan, and Europe were provided inland tours by entrepreneurs with their unregistered private cars and coaches called colorum. Hanggang ngayon marami pa rin mga colorum, 'di ba? Kaya nga kapag yung nasakyan mo ng mga bus or transportations ay colorum, kung saan-saan talaga dumadaan yung mga driver kasi nga they are unregistered. So next, the Philippine Travel Agencies Association is an organization born out of union of the National Associations of Outbound Travel Agencies and Inbound Tour Operators in 1979. So it was founded to foster unity in the travel industry and to promote the welfare of its members and the traveling public. Kaya nabuo si Philippine Travel Agencies Associations. So, Philippine tourism timelines. So, as early of the 1950s, Filipino had already realized the potential of tourism industry. Kaya nga noon pa lang yung mga ancestors natin is nagte-travel na talaga sila by water or gumagamit sila ng mga bangka para lang maghatid or makipag-trade sa iba't ibang bansa and vice versa. Yung other countries din is nagte-travel sa atin to have a trades. So, 1960s to 70s, the Philippines has undergone economic, social, and political crisis. So, it hindered the development and promotion of tourism. A temporary tourist boom existed in the Philippines. So, in 1972, after the declaration of martial law, when tourism in the Philippines prospered, 1950s to present, tourism in the Philippines today is the result of the continuous development and promotion of tourism. Kasi nga, ang tourism, siya yung number one na nagdadala sa atin ng economic growth. Bakit? Kasi nga tumataas yung foreign exchange. So, in 1950s to present, tourism nga is the result of continuous development of promotion and tourism. So, early 1950s pa lang up to present is ganun na natin pinahahalagahan si tourism and hospitality here in the Philippines. And because of that, meron tayong tinatawag na Department of Tourism. Nabuo si Department of Tourism shall be the primary government agency charged with the responsibility to encourage, promote, and develop tourism as a major socio-economic activity to generate not just an economic income, nakakapag-generate din si tourism ng employment and to spread the benefits of tourism to both the private and public sector. So several programs and plans of the Department of Tourism here in the Philippines is una is to increase visitor arrivals, increase tourism receipts through longer stays, expand domestic tourism, expand the ability of tourism, improve the standards of services, of course, and program major tourism infrastructure projects. Kasi nga, the more na mas marami tayong tourist attractions, the more na mas quality yung services na binibigay natin sa hospitality and tourism, and the more na magaganda yung mga facilities natin, the more na mas dadayuhin tayo, the more na mas babalik-balikan yung mga tourist attractions natin here in the Philippines. So another programs of the Department of Tourism is to engage in major tourism estate and resort development, classify facilities in tourist sites according to international standards, enforces strictly the tour facility standards, promotes self-regulation within the different sectors of the tourism industry, complete the National Tourism Plan and a Destination Tourism Plan, encourage consumer advertising in selected markets, work closely with the private sector in which product development and develop and strengthen linkages with sectors through tourism councils. And of course, the Department of Tourism din yung gumagawa ng rules, policies, and regulations when it comes to certain issues sa tourism industry and hospitality industry. So for the international travel patterns, so a tourist travel pattern is a combination of the destinations they choose to visit, the order they choose to visit them in, and why they make these decisions. So, uh, understanding tourist travel patterns is essential for the efficient operation of tourism-focused businesses and organizations. So here are the major travel flows occur between the United States and Western Europe. Secondary patterns exist between South America, the Caribbean, Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Travel to Africa is usually one way, originating in Europe. Travel between European countries to international travel has been extremely popular. So here sa international travel patterns is that sa isang bansa na walang one-way travel or one-way lang yung travel, meron kang tinatawag na layoff or meron kang tinatawag na kung saan ka hihinto muna just to wait or yung mga connecting flights na tinatawag para makarating ka doon sa mga destinations na pupuntahan mo kasi merong mga bansa na kailangan mong magtatlong sakay para lang makarating doon. Kailangan mong magkaroon ng 3 connecting flights para makarating doon. And meron namang mga bansa na one-way travel lang. And for the forces affecting the growth and change in tourism and hospitality industry, unang-una is the rising disposable income for large sections of the population. So in general, more money means more travel. Pag mas marami kang pera, of course, mas marami kang travel opportunities, mas marami kang pwedeng puntahan. So at present, ngayon, income family is widespread. Moreover, the world is experiencing a redistribution of income which encourages more people to travel kasi ngayon karamihan ng mga nakakapag-travel lang is the high classes and the middle class na mga tao, yung mga nandoon lang sa classes na yun, yung nakakapag-travel, especially internationally, kasi nga ang mahal mag-travel. So next is the growth in the number of retired persons who have the desire and the energy to travel. So life expectancy is increasing. So there are fewer deaths now than before, which is the result of more concern for diet and exercise. So next is increase in discretionary time, shorter work weeks, and longer vacations. So greater mobility of the population. So people become more accustomed to travel because of the increase in travel opportunities. The more na mas maraming means to travel, the more na mas maraming mga discounts to travel, nagkakaroon ng mas maraming chances ang tao na makapag-travel. So growth in the number of singles. So people living alone have more free time than couples. It's because they want to socialize through travel. Ang mga single daw is mas gusto nilang nagta-travel because they want to have wide socialization sa mga tao para mas makahanap sila ng of course, the one nila. Kaya sila nagta-travel. Minsan ang mga single, iniisip nila na baka dito ko mahanap yung the one ko or dito ko mahanap yung destiny ko. Kaya they have the means or they more have the means to travel. So next is the greater credit availability through credit cards and bank loans, 'di ba? The more na mas marami tayong opportunity na makapag-loans, of course, mas marami din yung opportunity natin, especially kapag ka naglo-loan tayo kasi gusto natin mag-travel, yung mga ganyan. So, higher educational levels, the growth of cities, simplification of travel through the package tour, growth of multinational business, modern transportation technology. Sobrang advent na ngayon ng mga transportation, especially yung sa mga bansa na sa mga growing uh, countries kasi meron na silang mga tinatawag na bullet trains. In just a snap, nandoon ka na sa pupuntahan mo. So shift in values, advances in communication, smaller families, and changing roles. So that is the factors that affects the growth of tourism and hospitality industry. And for your activity, so direction, answer the following questions. We have 10 questions for you to answer. Madali lang naman to kasi identification lang siya. And for the part two of your activity, explain briefly the following questions. So 5 points each. And of course, you have to have your journal entry or your reflection number two based on our discussions. So that's all, guys. I hope you learned a lot with our discussions for today. See you on our next lesson. So thank you for listening. God bless and keep safe always.